Welcome. Thank you so much. If you're returning, thank you so much for coming back and spending some time with us this morning. So we're here today with the seat in the table, and we're going to talk about Latino heritage and the influence on American art and culture. We're going to introduce our wonderful expert panel here in a few seconds. But I just wanted to start off and say, hi, I'm Kate Heishu. This is our second year of doing a seat at the table. And it really started as an organic grassroots collaboration during pandemic and just finding a way to really keep the conversation of equity in the art space and other very important concepts to the art, culture, and heritage communities, but specifically to have an important conversation and to include incredible talent from our wonderful community and to hear from people right here in Des Moines about their experiences. We focus a lot on identity, on culture, on all kinds of different themes and topics that surround art and art equity. So just a little bit of background on what we're here to do and how it started. Like I said, today our focus is on Latino heritage and the influence on American art and culture. Now, there are a couple of housekeeping items that I really want to take care of before we get started. And so we're just going to do a little bit of introductory framework to sort of set the stage for the conversation today. So the first thing, right, even though we're here today to sort of uplift and celebrate Latino heritage, I wanted to say that the month of May brings with it a number of cultural heritage celebrations. So the month of May is often known as Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. The month of May is also recognized as Jewish American Heritage Month, as well as Military Appreciation Month. So the point of me saying all of this, it's just something we'd like to start off with and something for our audience to take into consideration. I think it's a challenge that we all face right now. The tendency to put people in boxes, silo identity. And we're going to talk about this with our panelists, right? One of the, I think, questions and critical pieces of the conversation really deals with identity. And, I get asked all the time, so Kate, I don't know even what to say anymore. And again, this conversation is incredibly important because it allows us a safe space to have these critical conversations about things that are really tough sometimes to go to a stranger or go to somebody that you don't know that well and say, hey, I don't understand this and I'd like to learn more. So for example, what I find is that sometimes the lack of these conversations or silence around some of these conversations has to do with people honestly just not knowing what to say and how to say it. I have people share with me, Kate, when it comes to, the Black community. I don't know whether I should be saying African American or whether I should be saying Black or BIPOC or people of color or Latino or Hispanic or Mexican American or Latinx and the list goes on and on and on. And so that's one of the reasons we want to bring this to sort of the forefront before we get started. I think throughout all the conversations and discussions that I've been a part of, at the end of the day, people love information, but they want to know, well, what's the action? Okay, I hear people talk about so many different philosophies and ideas and themes and concepts, great conversation, but at the end of the day, what can I do? What can I do to make a difference? What I find is that most people have incredibly good intentions and they want to be a part of the solution. So there are going to be a couple of action items that I want to highlight for folks as we get started. And the first one is, I would simply ask everyone in the audience to challenge themselves to see people as whole people, right? Multidimensional. People are very complex, and we are way more than simply a gender and an ethnicity, or gender and race, or our nationality and our sexual orientation. But we have come so accustomed to sort of seeing people in that way and talking about people in that way, right? And a lot of it is because of some of the structures that are in place. When we fill out an application, everybody has to check gender. Then they have to check their age. Then they have to check, their place of national origin, race, or ethnicity. And they just group it all together. And here's the thing. We are fascinating and complex people. And oftentimes, we identify other people by our own lens and worldview. And I think that this is something that happens in autopilot. I don't think there are, like I said, I think people have the best intentions. So one of the actions that we would have the audience think about today is simply challenging ourselves to see people as whole people, and to see people as they'd like to be seen, or as they see themselves. And this is going to be a big part of the conversation today, is our identity. And identity as part of, right, the Latino community. And how do different people wish to be seen? What is the vision they have of themselves? Again, instead of how we'd like to see others. So that's the first action. I would challenge that. I would encourage people to start with curiosity, right? Because I think the first thing we do is we look at someone and we just start checking the box. Well, he looks this, and this. People would take a look at me and go, immigrant, Asian, female. They're going to start listing off how they would like to check me off on that list. And so, again, what I ask is that, embrace curiosity before we start checking people off on how we see them, especially when it comes to, right, we're talking about equity in the arts. And this is a really unbelievable area to have the conversation about equity. When we see a piece of art, when we hear music, when we watch dance, when we watch theater, when we see each other, lean in and embrace curiosity first before we try to define it. And then once we've been curious, I think oftentimes we'll find out that others will tell us how they'd like to be identified and how they'd like to be seen. So that's the first thing I really wanted to get out in front of. The second thing is that the seat at the table, this series here, I think there's a lot of undercurrent in our media and the news, social, economic, political climate that we all live in. And I'm someone that's very passionate about these topics. I'm very passionate about people. I absolutely am a fanatic about supporting the arts. But everyone here comes from the place of cultural sensitivity. And that's really important, because I think often in sort of the diversity, equity, inclusion space, the culture space, we may listen to things and wonder if it's instructional, right? And so from our perspective, here's action number 2. I encourage everyone to, again, sort of open themselves up to the idea of cultural sensitivity. And what that is when we simply acknowledge someone or something, both the similarities and differences, but without judging, moralizing, or assigning value to it. And I think that's very hard for us to do as people. I think some of that fights off our instantaneous desires to just organize things in our minds, right? To define different people and items. But regardless of what you hear and what you see today, please remember that a seat at the table comes to all of you from a place of cultural sensitivity. In other words, we just want to acknowledge the similarities and differences, nuances, themes, patterns, right? But this is simply as they are, not good or bad, not better or worse, not right or wrong, but simply as is. And there's so much beauty in that when we can acknowledge each other, but without assigning value. So those are the two, sort of brief, high-level housekeeping items. Really like to set the groundwork to have the right conversation, to truly create a space of inclusion where everyone here at a seat at the table feels a sense of welcoming, belonging, and really, it's so important that we create a safe space to have the conversation in. All right, so without further ado, I want to really highlight, first of all, our two amazing guests, and we're going to hear from them in a second. Today, we are bringing to you Sesó Marentes, who is a multidisciplinary artist, Latino, and Iowan. He has family in Juarez, Mexico, and he also has family in Iowa. He also sees himself simply as a human. He has a studio, Mainframe Studios. He challenges boxes, bias, and stereotypes. And although others have labeled him as a street artist, he sees himself as simply an artist. And we also have with us the very talented Michael Nuñez, who's a musician, an artist, entrepreneur. He's Peruvian, he's Andean, he's Latino, and he's best known for the Des Moines-based band Son Peruchos. The music with Son Peruchos is a fusion of Andean and South American folk music that celebrates traditional instruments such as the zabuna, quena, and charango. So we have these two incredible artists with us today, but we'd like to say hi to none other than the executive director, Stephen King. Good morning, Stephen. We are
good morning.
We're always excited to hear from you, and we would wonder a little bit about who you are, if you could share some of that with the audience, why you're excited to have the conversation today, and maybe a little bit about why you feel this subject matter is so critical to the art space and something we should be talking about.
Oh, sure. Yeah, thank you. So thank you everyone for joining us. Hope you can hear me okay. I'm getting over the flu, so everything has drained up to my head at this point. So Kate, thank you as always for your leadership. We so appreciate what you're doing with a seat at the table. And to Sesó and Michael, thank you for contributing your experience today. I'm excited to hear from you both. I'm Stephen King. I'm the executive director of the Des Moines Arts Festival, and this been around for 16 years and producing arts and cultural festivals and events, and working to help build community has really been a very important and critical part of my both personal life as well as my professional life. So I'm always excited to have these conversations here today because I just learned so much from Kate and from our panelists. The festival, the Des Moines Arts Festival, is really committed to strengthening a vibrant and creative community where we have dedicated ourselves to the principles of collaboration and creative expression. Our goals include inspiring engagement with the arts, to fostering and celebrating inclusion, which is why these conversations are so important to help guide us through to providing really everyone an opportunity for a seat at the table. We produce a annual 3-day outdoor festival celebrating arts and culture, which I hope everybody has marked their calendar for June 24th through the 26th. But we also provide programming and support to artists and arts organizations. We're advocating in our community for an art-first leadership model. We want to inspire individuals to find their creative voice. I think that's why a seat at the table is so important to us and why we value these conversations. As Kate shared, earlier, it allows us the space to really lean into this information and to these conversations and create a safe space for everyone. And as an arts organization, we really think our lane with arts engagement is important. I think there's a lot of I know that there is a lot of important work that is going on in our community, and arts and culture is a lane where we feel like our organization can really help to make a difference. And that's our goal. And part of reaching that goal for us is to listen, is to have these conversations and to really listen to members in our community and about where they've been and where they want to go. And hopefully we can find a place to help them to do that and really bring the community along with us. We really, it's absolutely critical going forward that we continue to make this space available to everyone in our community. I think we only win. It's a win-win-win situation if we can open ourselves up to having open and frank conversations and creating a safe space for everyone to be together and to succeed together. So thank you all. Thank you all for being here. And I hope you will continue to join us for these conversations in the future. Back to you, Kate.
You would think that I would figure out how to unsilence myself after multiple years of this, but I still find myself on autopilot. Yeah, thank you, Stephen. It's always great to hear from you. So Daphne, we wouldn't be okay without hearing from you a little bit. Daphne likes to fly under the radar, but I think she's incredible. She's a big part of the creative sort of cohort, right, that helped get this thing started. So Daphne, Director of Guest Engagement and Production. Good morning. We would love to hear just a little bit from you about why you also feel that this is an important and critical topic and conversation to have for our Des Moines community.
Absolutely. Definitely ditto everything that Stephen mentioned. I think as we're looking at our arts and culture organizations here in Des Moines, we can see a lot of silos. And I think that's one of the things that our organization is looking at doing is helping connect those people, break down those silos. Great example is Joe Gonzalez has been a huge advocate of arts and culture here in our community for many, many years. So why wouldn't I reach out to Joe to help us connect with speakers for today's session? And Joe connected us with Sesós and Michael, and I'm so excited to hear more about them. So I will let you all keep talking.
Thanks, Daphne. So just, you know, I don't typically do this. This is an impromptu part. Steve's eyes are going to get really big here in a minute. But no, I want to take just a few seconds and really give appropriate amount of respect and honor to Joe. He's an incredible part of the Des Moines community. And I just thought I'd share a very fast but engaging, fun story about Joe. I did an event a few years ago, multicultural reception, and partnered with the Latino Heritage Festival for this. And there were some folks that I worked with at the time who are Hispanic. And when I said that I was going to bring Joe to talk to the group, their reaction was as though I had just named like the largest global celebrity ever. They were like, oh my gosh, you know, the godfather of the Latino community for Des Moines. It was amazing. I was like, wow, all this time I've been friends with this unbelievable like role model and community leader. And I've only lived in the Des Moines, the city of Des Moines for 9 years now. And I just didn't realize, right, the impact and how Joe was seen. So Joe, thank you for all you do, for all you continue to do. You've been super inspirational to me. And so just wanted to say thanks and let our audience know how special and important you are to all of us. So, all right. We are now going to, I want to introduce everyone to you, Sesó Marentes. And Sesó, what an honor to have you here today. I've had the unique chance to get to talk to you and get to know you a little bit. You heard the way that all the different ways that I described you earlier, right? I said multidisciplinary artist, Latino, Iowan, you know, street artist is how some people see you, but you see yourself just simply as an artist, as a human. And your identity comes from a number of different places. But to start off, can you just tell us a little bit about who you are, your journey, and kind of what's brought you to where we are today? just help the audience get to know you a little bit.
Yeah. Well, Cecil. Okay. So anyway, yeah, my journey has been a very, I want to say a spiritual journey. You know, I've been doing, looking for my identity. Who am I? Without having that stigma of a label. And I've just, it's been quite a year. It's been quite a year. And just recently, I was actually able to connect with a lot of family that I didn't even know was here, you know, to find out that, you know, I have family here for over 100 years. And it's an amazing thing, you know, especially when you're looking for identity. It's who are you? If you don't know where your past, where you're originally, you know, comes from, you don't know who you are moving forward. And so I had a very unique experience in that. So the Des Moines Art Center has sponsored a documentary, and it's regarding my family. And so because of that, I met family, and so it's been really beneficial. But one of the things that, you know, that I came across is with that whole identity thing and that whole labeling thing is everybody wants to, they want to call you something, but they don't they don't know how to call you or what to call you. You know, they ask you, what do you do? Oh, I'm an artist. Oh, you're an artist. What kind of artist are you? And so to me, my art is sort of a philosophy of life. It's a way of life. And so it kind of trickles to my identity as a person, as a Mexican American. I'm not too keen on being labeled. And I mean, yeah, an artist is sort of a label, but it's a title. Just like human is a title. And so I don't like to be labeled as anything other than let's be equal. You know, I'm an artist. I'm not a painter. I'm not a printmaker. I don't do ceramic. I'm just an artist. It's the way that I live. It's the way that I breathe. And that's the way that I feel as a person. I'm not a Mexican. I'm not an American. I'm just a person that breathes, just like you. And so, yeah, it's been quite an adventure.
Wonderful. You know, I love that you really are committed to sort of rejecting some of those boxes, right? That people want to put us in. You know, Michael, I'd love to hear the same thing from you, right? Introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your journey that's brought you to where you are today. Yeah, share with the audience whatever you like so that we can get to know you a little bit better.
All right, I would like to say thank you. Do you guys hear me very well, right? Can you guys hear me? All right, awesome. Well, thank you very much. I would like to say hi to Joe Gonzalez for letting me be with you today, with you guys. So my name is Michael Nuñez, and I'm from Lima, Peru. Born and raised there in a huge city, Lima, and came to the States about 18 years ago. And so I came from a family of musicians, and basically my uncle is the one with his band came first with some of my family. We're family musician. And then I was younger, I was really, when you're from Peru, it's like coming to the States is like it's a huge thing. So for me, it was, when I was like 10 years old, I always wanted to go to States. So later, I had a chance to come here, as a musician also with my uncle's band. And then we started traveling, I mean, almost the whole United States playing Peruvian music. So, and then I was very young at the time, and you know, it was kind of good, like because I've been doing music since I was little, but the connection that when we play the music, it's like show our culture to people, from America to American people to show that we can bring a little bit of culture from Peru, like South American native music. So that's kind of like really impressed me. And then after coming back to Peru and coming here, I just decided to stay here and then like live here. So and then I kind of so my uncles kind of like then kind of like like they were done already. They didn't play anymore. They were moving back to Peru. So that was the moment that I decided to stay. But I was like, you know, I play music. I would like to keep doing it because it's the way that we connect people. That's how I see. Music. Like any other, like artists, others, stuff connect people. That's why I decided to keep doing it since I moved to Iowa. But I really love Iowa, by the way. It's growing a lot, and I just want to add a little bit of to bring people together. The show that we can be from. I can be from Peru. You know, can be from Mexico, from other countries, but we are in Iowa, and I would like to like be doing stuff that can make it grow Iowa also. Like Iowa has a Latino community. Iowa has a little bit of Black community, and we're doing the right thing. And just to have Iowa to be proud of that. It's more connection. That's why I like yesterday my band was playing at the one of for the I think it was for a fundraising or stuff that was at the Iowa Event Center. So we only play for 45 minutes, but for me it's a lot because I see like people that never see like like see my band, and that Latino people and Latino music, like Latin American culture is there, to show the music and people really enjoy, and and that's more important for me. That's what I see. It like I don't do music as a like my living, but I think it's a great tool to connect more people and show that that I was growing, and we got Latinos, we got Black community, and we're doing the right thing, and and bring everybody together. We can have a good relation with everyone. You know,
Yeah, yeah, I
that's
love
my
that. I think that that's right. That's part of the magic of diversity is that you can find so much depth in everyone's differences, and without all of those right unique elements, we would have a completely different culture. To your point, Michael, that all of these different influences really create a very rich experience for our Des Moines community and for the amazing people that live here. So, when did you first, what was it in your childhood and the way that you grew up? When was the first time that you said, I feel like, because you were talking about that being an artist is really just part of who you are. It has to do with, right, just sort of your DNA, what makes you the individual that you are. So when did you first kind of know that art spoke to you in that manner?
That's a really good question. Uh, Really, I think the moment that I started actually taking it serious and realizing who I was, my whole practice, my profession is always about self-identity. And growing up in Iowa, um, yeah, there was Mexicans, but we were kind of spread out. I went to my elementary and my middle school. There wasn't very many Mexicans at all, and so I had that stigma. Oh, Jose, oh, Mexican. And then eventually, once the Mexican store came and the Tapatia came, and all of a sudden Latinos are coming, and now they ask me, ¿De dónde eres? From here. No, 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 no. Tu familia. And so I tell them, okay, well, my family's from Juarez. Oh, that's where you're from. And so it was hard for me to grasp that. And not only did I have, Latinos not understanding, but I also had the people that I was influenced and raised around Iowa doing the same thing to me. My name is Jose. Do you need a translator? I'm speaking to you. I don't need a translator. And so my art became that. My art became my voice to really try to seek that answer.
Yeah,
What am
so
I-
you said, one of the things you said that I thought was interesting is that when you started to take it seriously, that's when you knew the art was going to be part of who you are for your life, right? But what were the things that made you take it seriously? What was there some series of events? Was there something that you realized in your life being in Iowa, being Mexican American, Iowan, Latino American, human? I mean, was there something that happened that made you say, I'm going to take this to another level, something specific, or was it just gradual over time?
So I say it was a little bit of both. It was a little bit of
Yeah.
both. I'd have to say that, yeah, it was my journey to trying to figure out who I am, to figure out where I want to go. But I worked with a lot of organizations, and I really started working with these organizations around 2010. I went with Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and then
Yeah.
I started moving over to more art-based, Art Force Iowa. That was with the Des Moines Social Club, and I noticed around that time that a lot of the art that was being made was starting to become street art, and so they're teaching this street art mentality. And my roots come from the street, and to deny that, that would be a tragedy of myself. But it was just seeing these discussions starting to be made.
Yeah.
And I'd say it was probably around 2015
Sure.
is when these discussions started becoming very important. It was a black and white, no justice with Art Force Iowa, and then Movement 515 did the same thing, but there wasn't a lot of voice for Latinos. And
Right.
I've been searching for a little bit of both worlds, trying to find that balance. And so around that time is when I started to create works regarding, who I am, who my family is, and just appropriating Iowa into my works. And
Right.
well, appropriating Iowa kind of became something of a transition, because at first I was like, okay, I'm Mexican. No, okay, I'm American. So my artwork was very Mexican oriented. And then I switched and I became very American oriented with my street art, my graffiti, my it was so, to me, it was a very pivotal moment when I started realizing I have these different styles, I have these different techniques. How do I put them together? And so now, lately, it's just been a transition into I am both. I am everything. And so my works are to me a hybrid, and I infuse my upbringing here with my knowledge and my culture across the South.
Sure. Yeah. So Michael, how about you? You grew up in a musical family. You watched your father and your relatives be a part of a musical family and be a part of a band pretty much your whole life. But at what point did you say, I have to be a part of this too? Not everyone follows in the footsteps of their family members just because it's something that they are familiar with. What spoke to you that created the passion, right, for you to continue that tradition as a musician, as an artist, and let the world hear your voice?
All right. Basically, you know, I think probably, like every artist will know, if they play music, they think what, you know, once once you do it, it's kind of hard to stay away from that. Even
Yeah,
if you could be doing other things, but you still have the passion, the thing inside that. That's what I say. I'll do music until I die because that like that like feed my soul, make me relax. Even if I don't do right now, like I mentioned, I said I don't do this for a living, but I still need it. I need it because it makes me feel. It's kind of like a makes me feel good. It feed, feed my soul
yeah,
and help to connect people and show my culture. That's really important to me. Even it's kind of weird because even sometimes the good thing about probably I had a chance to still doing music because that's why at some point in my life I was like I can still play music, I can do as a living, but like you know I can try to do both, so that's why I start uh, doing a little bit of business so that way I can give me a little bit of time so I can do my art, keep playing music because I was like, oh, if I have a regular job, that'll be hard for me to like actually like doing the music the way I want it. Even if I don't do 100%, but I try to be every place that they want us to play, so I try to be there. That's and that's why I try to get the people, my musicians, the guys in the band, like I talk to them clear, let's do this, who's with me, and some can do it, like yesterday we play from 11 in the morning to 12, so it was kind of hard for some of the musicians, so I had to bring just some guys that they can make it, I couldn't say, like, oh, I can't do it, I cannot do it. Just, you know, we can have some other gigs to play, but something inside of me, I want to go, I want to go. It's gonna be new people. I want to show them that we're here. Our Latinos are, to play music, Latin American culture is here, That's the only way that we can bring people together. And that, it's a lot of work, especially for me. I put a lot of time, I could be, saying like working, making more money, but money is good, but what I like to feed my soul and show my culture is more important than other things.
yeah. Thank you. I think that it's really fascinating and for people just to learn how that artistic journey starts because it's different for everybody. Everyone has different reasons why they become drawn to art and then why they continue that path forward. So yeah, it's been great being able to hear a little bit about Sesó and Michael, just regarding their journey, a little bit about what has inspired them along the way about artists. But as we've sort of interwoven throughout the conversation already, we really want to talk about identity here. And, there are a couple of things that we'll point out briefly. If you look up the definition of the word identity, the exact definition says the fact of being who or what a person or thing is. Right? And I think that the way that that definition is written, it's the fact of being, right? So that means that identity is about that individual's definition of self, that a person creates their identity, that again, the tendency that I see is we all want to assign how we see others to other people instead of, right, being curious and learning more about how people would like to be seen. Those are two very different things. And so that's, again, to as a little reminder, that's one of our actions for today. I think, for me, it's only my opinion, but I think one of the challenges that we all face today, and I believe it is in part a symptom of the tendency of really continuing to just having to put people in silos and boxes. And when we do this, it's actually very contradictory to the philosophy of inclusion. Because what happens is when we force people to fit into these boxes of race and gender and age and all of these other things, one, it's really confusing, because what if we don't fit neatly into those categories? What if our category isn't there? You know how many people I hear say, well, yeah, it's so confusing to have to check the box. And recently, at the end of this first quarter 2022, I was reviewing a bunch of applicant data, right? Thousands of people who had applied for a variety of jobs. And what I found is that the percentage of people who refused to check the boxes continues to grow. So in one of the sampling of 290 some applicants, right? We had 11% of people check, I choose not to identify, which to me is a material quantity that will throw off the data. So again, when I think about, you know, what can our audience really learn from this on the highest level, on a global level? There's going to be a time where we're not going to continue to be able to find out more about each other by reading the check boxes. You won't be able to tell anymore just by looking. And so again, a critical piece of this conversation is expanding our definition of what diversity looks like, expanding our definition of who fits in what box. Because guaranteed, when we do that, when we have a narrow definition of what a Latino male looks like, or what a Latino artist should create like, or what an Asian female should sound like, when we do those things, right, we miss out on opportunity. We miss out on incredible opportunity to build relationships. Because there are tons of people who don't fit neatly into these boxes that we continue to try and put people into. And for those of us who don't fit, it's super confusing that we even have to think about it like that, right? Like, I don't know, am I Latino? Am I Hispanic? Am I Mexican? Am I Peruvian? Am I, right? So for the sake of like, oh my goodness, I'm just gonna check, I choose not to disclose. So I wanna keep people thinking about, right? The whole basis of today's conversation really focusing around identity and expanding how we see other people to how they see themselves. You know, I have friends who are, I listened to a young man the other day who is part Mexican and part white, so he's biracial. And he was talking about how hurtful it was to him that nobody, you know, when he shared his story, he said, you know, because I look like a white guy, I get no credit for being Latino. And that makes me really sad, that because I don't look the part, I don't get to be a part of that conversation because people just count me out. Or adversely, people will say negative things about Latinos or about Mexicans because I don't look the part and don't realize how hurtful those comments are. But just because someone doesn't look like the way that we expect them to look, they don't fit in the boxes that we want them to fit in. When we do that, right, we miss out on opportunity. So I challenge everybody, again, another action item, expand your diversity definition. When we do this, we invite in the true spirit of inclusion, where all people can feel welcome, safe, and as though they belong, regardless of what boxes they're checking or not checking. I just like to remind people of some of those larger themes of the conversation. I want to go back, Sesó, because you and I had a really in-depth conversation about this whole identity thing, and you're very much an iconoclast, right, when it comes to being put into boxes. I admire that wholeheartedly. What are some of the ways in which you found that other people see you that don't fit how you see yourself, right? What are some of the things that people want to make you into, where you go, you know what, that's really not authentic to the artist that I am, or that's not authentic to my creative side, right? Because you talked about like, you know, sort of the fusion and how you, and I love fusion, right? Because when we get back to Michael, you know, very much Son Peruchos is a fusion of a lot of different amazing genres of music, right? But so you said, you know, you found yourself doing a lot of Mexican art, and then you really found yourself doing a lot of American art, and eventually, right, you found that special place for them to sort of convene and create something new. Talk more about that experience and how other people have wanted you to be versus how you have become over time as an artist.
Okay. I love that, first of all. So, yeah,
Thanks.
here we go. Here we go. So this is Cecil's thought on that. Third person.
I love that you did third person. You're giving yourself space for the conversation.
Yeah. So I've grown up around complacency in the workforce, at home, just in the community. What's the easiest thing to do except for just give in to those expectations? And so one of my biggest struggles as an artist and as somebody who's really trying to find my identity, find who I am, find my rhythm, find my flow, find that freedom, is that I had to learn that complacency is not my way of life. I chose the hard path. I chose the path where people are going to question me, they're going to judge me, they're not going to understand me. Eventually they will. And at this point in my career, in my path, in my journey, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't affect me that you don't understand me right away, because eventually you will. That's how the world goes. And so I chose not to be complacent. I chose not to have that label. For a while, I was sitting here, oh, well, I'm Mexican, so now I got to be Mexican. Órale, vato. I don't need to do that. I don't need to be, oh, hey there, sir. You know, I'm from Iowa. I don't need to be a different part than who I am. And probably when you talk about this, it's so emotional to me. My feeling to it is I decided to choose the hard path in order for me to try to make a change. I don't want my kids to grow up thinking that they have to be complacent, that they have to just accept this way of life. What's the point of living life? You give up before you live it. And this whole identity thing and then checking these boxes, it's almost as if they're trying to make us quit. They're making us just give up, man. This is what you are. Learn to deal with it and move on. Accept it. I don't want to accept it. And I'm not, in this day and age, I'm not ready to accept that checklist. I don't need a checklist. There's only one thing that I need to check. And it's, man, I'm living just like you. I'm experiencing the same atmosphere, just like you. We're in Iowa. When I was here in Iowa growing up, like I said, there wasn't I didn't see a lot of Mexicans. I didn't see a lot of Guatemalan, Honduras. I saw black and white. I barely even seen Asian. And that wasn't up until I got to middle school that I started seeing Asian.
Thank you for including Asian in the conversation, Seth, so I appreciate that.
Well,
You know, but let me ask you, given all of those things, why did you choose to stay here, right? Because I have people say to me, you know, I don't know why people of color would want to continue to live in Iowa because there's just not that much. So like I have my own reason, right? I know Michael has a reason he's going to share, right? Because there are so many places we could all go to where there'd be a huge cultural hub of like, enormous, right? We could go live in, like, I could go live in like Dallas, where there are a ton of Korean Americans. I could go live in California, tons of Asian Americans. You could go live, I mean, right? There are tons of places we could all go that would feel maybe at times more welcoming, have a greater sense of racial or ethnic or cultural belonging. But all three of us, right, we're here, and we are proud. I've heard nothing but Iowa pride in this conversation. So what has rooted you to this community, Sesó, and said, you know what, of all the places I want to be here? What, despite all the labeling and box checking, what makes your heart belong in Iowa?
You know what? I want to say there's so many reasons why I want to be here. This is where I grew up. This is where my kids grew up. This is where my mother grew up. My mother was here first. My grandfather was here. My great grandparents came here. You know, my great grandmother came here on the 4th of July, hearing word of mouth that you can cross the border for a quarter legally. She made the United States home. They made Iowa home. Why would I want to leave somewhere else and represent someplace else that's not my home? One of the biggest things that I've been talking about this year is everybody wants to live here, but they don't want to represent here. I have family and friends that say they got family from Chicago, they got family from Texas. They're from here, but instead of identifying with here, they're so ashamed of Iowa that since I got family from here, just like the Latinos that asked me originally, ¿de dónde eres? I kept telling them I'm from here, but they wanted to label me as, no, you're from Juarez because your family's from Juarez. Well, then that's how I see my family and my friends, some of my families and some of my friends. I'm not gonna say all of them, but I see them saying, oh, well, I got family from Chicago, so I'm from Chicago. You don't know anything about Chicago. You know everything about here.
So you're so right. I see that all the time. I have never quite put it in the way that you just did, but that was really, really powerful. Like, I also know a lot of people who are from Iowa, right? If you want to talk about roots, lifetime of experience, family, whatever that is that makes us call something home, people whose heart is in Iowa. But when it comes to, people say, where are you from, right? There's something that makes people want to go, like you said, oh, I'm from Chicago, I'm from Atlanta, and so they want to get the benefits of Iowa, but they have a hard time saying proudly, right? Like, I'm from Iowa. And I think that's it's just an interesting thing that I've seen in a number of folks. I want to ask Michael, Michael, you said the same thing. You go, I love Iowa. This is one of the first things you led with. I want to ask you the same question. So when it comes to how Iowa sees you, how the Des Moines community sees you versus how you see yourself, what's your experience been like? Is it in line with your own identity, or do you feel like people see you in a different way than how you'd like to be seen?
Well, normally, basically, I never had like I'm gonna say it, I don't like the word bad, but never had like that kind of experience. I think, if people ask me where you from, I always say I'm from Peru, because that's where I was born. Even if I'm a US citizen now, but they want to ask me because I look Hispanic. They can say, where you from? I'm Latino, I'm from Peru. But I'm from Iowa, I live in Iowa. And that's my, when people ask me where I'm from, that's why I say I'm Latino, but I'm also a US citizen. I live here. And I think the reason, and also really like Iowa, is because I was growing, and we have a lot of the the Latino and Asian, it's growing, the culture, the community is growing. And I see, for me, I see a good good thing for me, like to put my work with the music so that we can let it grow more the community, So that's one of the reasons I love Iowa, because people told me, why you're leaving Iowa? Why you're here? It's cold. You're from Peru. It's warm there. I don't know. I see, because I wanna add a little bit, put a little bit of sand, so we can build Iowa, like other bigger cities. The bigger cities has so many diversity, so many cultures, so many, so many other countries, restaurants from other countries, and I want to be part of Iowa, because I see Iowa's growing, because I work in the like construction area. I see like Iowa's growing. People are moving to Iowa, and I want to be a little bit of part of it. And that make me feel like I'm doing something. And it really makes me happy to do it. And the good thing about when I play music, I'm a musician, I meet a lot of people. Special, like I think I represent a lot of the Latino community, because even if I play music, I like to be around, like, whether it's the Latino music related. I know a lot of Latin people, I know a lot of American people that they like to get into the Latino community also. As when we play music, we got dancers too. And I see a lot of like American people and African American trying to learn how to dance like Latino music. And sometimes they're trying to, there's new people come to let's say to the venue that we're playing, or the venue where they're teaching salsa music, you know and so they come and they say, I don't know how to dance, and I tell them, I teach you how to dance. And they start dancing, and they say, oh, I really I can do it. And I tell them, I'm a really positive person. And I told him, yeah, you can do it, because I saw a lot of people coming, dancing for like a month, and they look like professional dancers. And that's really exciting, because even I feel like I'm doing a little bit, but it's a lot. So there's start like coming like African American people come and get into Latino community more, and they kind of start liking it. Oh, I can dance Latin music, and then, oh, you play an event? Yes, I do play an event. Oh, let me know when you play so I can go to you guys. And they come to at the venue where we play, and they get really
Yeah.
excited. Oh, I like what you guys do. I like how you guys dance. And it's amazing. It's something like you see even a lot of Asian people, they start dancing salsa music. They come to learning, and then they love it, and they start coming to all the time when we play. They are there, and it's amazing. It's just totally different. That's why I feel like I'm doing a little bit for the community, but bringing people together. That I see in the field.
Yeah.
That makes me feel really good. About it.
Yeah. Thanks, Michael. I'm wondering, so I think a lot of it, to your point, does have to do with, right, perception. And you said you're a very positive person, and
Yeah.
I see that in you. And so I'm gonna, like, in my head, I kind of have an idea of what I think you're gonna say, but I want to hear it from you, of course. Have there been any barriers or roadblocks that you feel have prevented you from doing the things that you wanted to do as a musician because of who you are, because you're Peruvian, because you're, because you're Latino? Do you feel like there have been any roadblocks that have sort of, stood in your way from getting to where you wanted to go?
Well, not really, not really. I think I see it more like a really powerful tool. Uh, Also, like, because we play Latin America, like dance music, but also I play like native Peruvian music, which is really powerful tool. Because a lot of people really, because sometimes when people ask me, what kind of music do you play, and I say I play Latin music, and people think like, oh, you have to play Latin music. So I don't really wanna dance, you know, I don't really wanna like you know, get drunk. You know, some people say that, you know. And I say, well, I play Latin music for people to dance, but I can play music to really enjoy and feed your soul, you know. That's why we become like playing like Peruvian flute and stuff like that. So people like see the difference that like native Latin American music can do, you know, you
Yeah,
know, because some people like to, let's say, you know, we play music, Latin America, Latin music for people that wants to party, but at the same time we play with the flute, like native Peruvian music that people really can enjoy. You can sit
yeah,
and, you know, like drink a coffee and really enjoy the kind of music, you know. So that's one of the powerful tools that in my band we have, you know. Like we play for the dancers, but at the same time we play like music that you can listen, you know, and you can
yeah,
really, you know, like feed your soul and, you know, enrich you, you know. That,
yeah, I love that. So a little bit later, you're gonna play a song for us?
yeah, sure, why not? I got my
Okay,
instrument,
okay. I knew that you, that's a special treat we have for everyone today. I'm very excited about that. We're gonna wait until a little bit closer to the end. But I will tell you, I have, like I said, I've had the fortunate opportunity to hear some Baruchos, amazing in many ways. Um, the music kind of takes me somewhere completely different. Just the feel, the timbre, and all of the different elements of different types of music, like we talked about. There are so many different influences in the music that your band plays. Um, can you tell us what does Son Paruchos mean for the audience?
okay, some Peruchos, you know, if we talk about the name, some Peruchos Peruvian, you know, they're Peruvian. Since in my band we're not all Peruvians, you know, me, my brother, and that the other guitar player is from Peru, but we got, you know, people from Iowa, you know, American. We got from people from Mexico too, members, you know, from Mexico, and yeah, yeah, that's basically like means to people. And when people hear like some Peruchos, you know, a lot of people know the band already, so it comes
Yeah,
like dancing, you know, salsa music, you know, bachata music, cumbia music, you know, rock in Spanish, you know. So that's why they come to their, you know, when they hear some Peruchos, you know.
yeah. Thanks, Michael. All right, Seso, we would love for you to show us what you got there. Talk to us a little bit about the two pieces behind you, and maybe if you'd be willing to share how you feel as though your identity shines through these two pieces of artwork. We'd love to hear about that.
So I have a lot of background in street art, but I don't even really like to consider it street art. It's mostly just, you know, growing up a kid grabbing something and making something and just doing something, keeping your hands not idle and keeping yourself pretty, you know, consistently doing something. So I use a lot of duct tape. Duct tape was always, it was just easy. You know, somebody had duct tape somewhere, you know, growing up, but you know, I used to draw on cardboard boxes. I'm gonna get cliche. Oh, I found a pizza box, you know, and I started on it, you know, so let's get cliche with that. And and so a lot of my work is is those objects that I grew up just, it was normal to be around. And so the patterns, duct tape, I used to be a sign maker. I used to just, you know, everything that I do just kind of flows with itself. It is an extension of me. It's me just pouring whatever experience I had. And so I use a lot of duct tape. I use a lot of spray paint. I use a lot of just acrylics, oils, whatever it is that my body and my hands and just the energy that's flowing out of me wants to release. And so I'm a mixed media. You can't tell me I draw, because I can do more than draw. You know, I'll find something. Ball of tape. I mean, I'll find something. I'll just do it. I'm a carver. I'm a printmaker. I'm everything. I'm anything and everything that I want to be.
So really your art fits perfectly into, in many ways, how you describe your identity, which is that you don't want labels. You find ways to dismantle the label. So once a person thinks they can, right, put their finger on who you are, oh, he's a graphic artist, or he's a street artist, or he does pottery, right? Or you're, like I said, we go back to, right, you're Mexican, you're American, you're Iowan. And every time somebody kind of wants to figure it out, you go, nope, actually, try again, right? So I find that to be kind of part of the common theme and how you express yourself. What are ways that, I kind of want to ask you the same question that I asked Michael a second ago. Along the way in your journey, what are some of the barriers or hurdles or challenges that you faced where it was either because you're Mexican, or because you're American, or because you don't fit neatly into these boxes? What are some of the barriers and challenges that you've had to overcome in order to do you?
So here we go. I hope you're ready. So anyway, 2015, street art became a big theme here in Des Moines. All the nonprofits that are helping the youth, they're starting to teach these children how to make murals, and not just murals, street art. So spray paint is becoming a big thing here, and everybody who's anybody can spray paint now, and it's so cool. Fast forward now, and we're in 2022, and there's a thing that I like to say, it's about plateauing. We're at a plateau now. We've done it, we've seen it, we've taught it, and now what do we do to get out of that plateau? Do you want to go here, or do you want to go there? And you know what I say? I don't want to go there. So I say, no way, Jose, with that. I'm going there. I'm going to change it. For the pandemic, once the first quarantine happened, my kids didn't go to school, and the whole world basically just shut down, except for television. Television was still running. And so I made my kids watch John Leguizamo's Latin History for Morons. And in his struggle, he's trying to find this Latin hero to show his kid that there's Latin heroes just around the corner. And so he's going on this mission, and so he really rung a bell to me. So he was talking about how the conquistadores, they come over here and they destroy all the indigenous artwork, and they're grabbing all their fine jewelry and they're melting it down into a coin. And so with that, all the European work is called fine art. And then they're labeling all the Southern Latin American work as folk art. And let's go back to to Sesó. I was on Hello Iowa, and I kept telling them that I'm not a street artist. I'm an artist. And they say, yeah, okay, but guess what? That label, that check mark was right there on the screen, and it says Sesó Marentes, street artist. I had to accept it because it was live, and I had no choice. I couldn't fix it. I couldn't like, hey, no, I'm an artist. So anyway, my whole thing is we're in Iowa, and that street art, that's not for Iowa. Yeah, that'll work in California, that'll work in Chicago, where you have to go to a museum and you have to pay $40 to get in. The whole reason why street art was created was because it was a way for the poor to be able to be exposed to what fine art or art is altogether. We're in Iowa, we have the Art Center, which their grant is free to all, free to all. So when these nonprofits appropriated street art, they instead of continuing to rise, they kept these kids in this street mentality. This is the way that you're going to get from A to Z. You have to start in the streets in order for you to get to Z. But we're in Iowa. We don't need that. That noise can go somewhere else, because here in Iowa, you can start. Your plateau should be in the art center, somewhere professional. You don't need to be in the streets. So what do you do from that plateau? Here in Iowa, the plateau should have been the art center, where fine art, where those technical skills are being utilized. And so, to me, this is one of those topics that's very sentimental to me. But I do feel as if, since we're here and we have that beautiful plateau that's already, everybody was starting below that plateau. And then they got to the plateau because they were rising. And that's great about Iowa, is art wasn't really a big thing. And so they started and they got to that plateau, and then they just kind of stopped. They just kind of flatlined and they rolled that plateau. And so my goal has been to get higher now. And I'm not ready to ride a plateau. I'm not ready to be complacent. I'm not ready to take that label. I'm ready to raise up the bar. And
one of the cool things that I like that you brought up is the conversation of, there are many ways that people have put it, right? Who gets to be a part of highbrow versus lowbrow art, right? Who gets to be in the museums versus, only at the multicultural art fairs, right? Who gets to be, the conversation of fine art versus, like you said, folk art. And I mean, that's a big part of the identity conversation, and those barriers that keep certain people either in or out of, right, being defined or being identified in a certain way. So I think it's really powerful you talk about that. Michael, same thing for you. I think that in some ways, I get the feeling that if other people want to define you a certain way, that's fine, but you have a very clear idea of who you are, right, in the music that you do. So similar to how we were able to really get an up-close look at Sesó's art there on the screen, would you be willing to share a song with us?
Sure, yeah.
I'd like to ask you a few questions about what we are going to, what we're going to listen to.
All right. First thing, I want to show you the instrument.
Oh, yay.
So this is, yeah, for most people, I mean, it's going to look like a pan flute, but that we call in Peru zampoña. It's made out of bamboo, and that's what most Peruvian native music. That's what the instrument we use. Well, I'll just share a song with you for you guys.
Oh, awesome!
See how it
Thank
sounds. So that's one of the songs that we play on cumbia. Yeah,
Whoa.
yeah, it's pretty nice instrument. Actually, I went to middle school. Oh, sorry, elementary school, and I did few sessions there. I teach the kids how to build their own instrument, as you know. So with PVC, and the kids start building their own instrument. That was pretty fun. That was a great experience for me. And we practiced a song with the kids. They were like, I think they were like, I don't remember what grade they were, but they were actually got a video on my Facebook, and they were about like 10 years old, and the kids start building their own instruments with PVC, and we made a song, and I made the kids, the whole classroom, to sing a Spanish song. So that was a great experience for me. So we played the song with the kids. That was a great song. I'm a little rusty in that song, but that was like 3 years ago.
No,
And,
you're
and
great. You're great.
yeah, and that was really amazing. That's one of the things that I would like to do in Iowa. It's kind of like open like a music place, and that's why I'm working hard to do it. That's one of my goals. I just want to be proud that I put a little bit of my culture to the Iowa for the Iowa people, for everyone. It's kind of like have like a music school of music for kids that I want it to be free for all the kids. I want kids to really enjoy music. Even if they don't do like professionally, but at least have the experience to play some music. So that's why I'm I'm trying to get people like on the Latino community that they do dance, they do acting, they do music, so we can build like a school of music for the Latinos and for everyone, basically, you know, and for free. Kids can come and learn music. If they want to play drums, they can play drums. They can take free lessons. Whoever wants to. But I focus more on kids because they're the future. Of Iowa.
Yeah.
they're the future for the country. So, that's one of my really goals that I hope, the soonest the better that I would like to do. I know I cannot do it by myself. That's one of the power tools that music give me, that to meet a lot of people and get connected and find an idea and do the best for Iowa, for Iowa and for United States. But you have to start with Iowa, from where you're from, and that's clear for me, that's very clear. Iowa, I need to do something because people, they it's always good to think to like think big, but you have to start with little first, and I think Iowa, especially in Des Moines, is good opportunity for me to put a little bit of my talent, a little bit of my culture to like really help Iowa to they can see for example, when I play music, I go to Omaha, Kansas City, I always go like a Latino band, but I represent Iowa, and people are really excited. Oh, I didn't know Iowa has a Latin music that we can dance, the people get surprised because they think, oh, Iowa it's a cornfield, Iowa, oh, it's boring. I was growing. Iowa will watch, I tell them, watch. Iowa, in 20 years will be like nice, bigger as Chicago, bigger as it's like a Des Moines, it's growing, we have good things in Iowa, That's why, always when I travel out of, outside the state, I represent Iowa, even if I go with the Latino band, but always represent Iowa. Iowa has a good Latin band. You guys can come here. Iowa has a good Mexican restaurant. Iowa has, you know, good Peruvian restaurant. Asian restaurants. That's how I see myself. Representing Iowa.
So I absolutely love that. I love that Cesó got super excited when you're like, I represent Iowa. They don't think we have any Latino music or culture in Iowa, but we do. So you're taking it on the road for us. I really love that. You did mention food. So you said we do have great, Mexican, Peruvian food. Tell us, I'm just curious, right? Because people, and to like you and to Cesó, you're probably like, food is food, but food is, culinary arts, right? To me, actual, like making and preparing meals and food, I look at that as very much a part of the arts. That's just my own personal opinion. If you were to recommend one restaurant, like your favorite of all time, like where the food is just something that takes you in a memory almost, what resonates with you? What makes you feel like you're at home?
Okay. Well, like you said, food is like music, I love to cook, by the way, I really love to cook. I'm really passionate about cooking too. That's one of my passion. I mean, after music, will be cooking too, And cooking is also, it's like an instrument too, When I always like to do, like, because I know a lot of in the Latino community, I know a lot of people, and I like to bring people. That's why I do like events in my house, and I cook out for my friends, especially like when the weather is nicer, So
How
I'm
do we
thinking
get
about
on
to
the
do.
invite list? Like what's up with that?
Yeah. And I always like to cook like Peruvian food, and people love it, like it, And you know, I'm I don't have like, I would say like a one favorite, I like Latin food, That's really, that's I love to cook. I love to try different things, or like different type of music, sorry, type of food, And yeah, I would like to say Peruvian food is my favorite, But that's a great thing about that, like the Latino community. I'm talking about for Latino community, like Asian community too. Bring a little bit of culture even to the food, So why not in the future we can create one dish that from Iowa and has a little bit of a little bit of a Latin influence, or Asian
Yeah.
influence, That's how Peruvian food is one of the best in the world, I don't know, one of the best, maybe the top 10 food, And the reason it is because the culture, like diversified culture got there, in Peru, they got like a lot of Asian influence, like African influence too, and that's why they mix all that, and they can create one of the Peruvian food, one of the top food in the world, So that's the same thing can happen in Iowa, We put a little bit of everything, a little bit of flavor of Latinos, Asian, and we can create great things for Iowa. That's how I feel.
Well, thank you, Michael. So we only have a couple minutes left, and I am going to ask Cesó one last quick question. But before we go, I do want to thank the audience for joining us today. What an amazing opportunity to meet two gifts. I really look at both of you as gifts to our incredible city, our community, our state. You make us better. And I'm very grateful for being able to have the chance to have this conversation and share, the gift of who you are, right? With all of the audience today. This will be recorded, and you'll be able to share this with other folks. If you know somebody who wanted to see this and couldn't join today, you'll be able to see it online. Also, Daphne is going to be putting up Cesó's Facebook and also Stone Perucho's Facebook pages. Please visit and like them, visit them, learn more about who they are. As always, thanks to the incredible Des Moines Arts Festival, to Stephen, to Daphne. Again, raise the roof to Joe Gonzalez, who I see looking right at me, even though he probably doesn't know. We love you, Joe. And last but not least, one final little question, Cesó. if there was one thing you'd like all of us to remember as we leave the event today, in terms of, right, what it means to be an artist, what it means to be an IO, what it means to be Latino, what it means just to be human, what it means to not be defined. What are your final thoughts for our audience today?
So I would say, I know I don't talk about check boxes, checklists, whatever, but my culture is, I am Latino, I am Mexican, I'm Chicano. So first of all, love where you're from. Love who you are. And just don't be complacent. Don't be complacent. Always reach for something more. Always look for something more. That easy road, that ain't the life to live. The best life is just to have your goals, your drive, and just take away those labels. Appreciate everybody's story, everybody's narrative. Make it part of who you are too. The moment that we stop having these discussions is the moment that we stop growing.
I have goosebumps. So I knew you'd be the perfect artist to end this. So inspirational. You know where you're from, love who you are, right? And don't ever be okay with just being okay. So with that being said, Sesó, Michael, the Des Moines Arts Festival in the city of Des Moines, thank you so much for joining us at the table. And we'll see y'all again soon. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.